My mic's attached. That's the only reason I'm. I don't want you to have to ruin. That's the money right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm losing some money.
Yeah, right. All right, we're hanging out here. Jeff Leeson and Levi Mabe.
That's right.
Levi Mabe just performed here on the main stage. They totally kicked ass.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a Tuesday, so it's going to be a weird crowd. But I thought you guys crushed it. I did.
I've definitely seen weirder and worse crowds on a Friday or Saturday.
Is that right?
For
a
Tuesday, they were.
Yeah,
they were
Tuesday,
like
they
into it, not tired.
Yes,
I felt
true.
the energy
was
really good.
For here, if that was a weird Tuesday crowd, I definitely want to be here on a Saturday night,
Yeah.
because they were great.
Well, you,
Me?
Levi Mabe.
Yes, sir.
You were like, going after these New Yorkers and these Long Islanders. I wasn't sure if you were going to get out of here alive.
Yeah, I insulted them and they applauded me, so
They did,
I like that kind of energy. That's fun.
All right, repeat after me. Yapank.
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 Yeah. Pank.
Yeah.
Pank. Yeah, Pank.
That's not the worst of it, though. We actually have a town on Long Island called Shinnecock. Yeah,
Amazing.
I was praying that somebody was going to yell that out to you. When
I
you were
just
out
got
there,
I just got blue balls in pencil. Sorry, I didn't get blue balls. I mean,
Sorry to hear that.
somebody. Yeah, I mean, I did. It was a weird night in Pennsylvania, but somebody told me there's a town there called Blue Balls, Pennsylvania.
Really?
Yeah, that was my reaction.
Wow,
as well.
I've never. Wow.
I know. There's a few other really good ones. We hear some pretty wild towns across America and Canada. We Canada. We tend to take ours from other countries.
Canada is my favorite one, though. There's a town in Quebec called Saint Louis du Haha with an HA exclamation point, HA exclamation point, like it's laughing. But I looked into it, and they don't know why that came about, but it's the only city in the world with 2 exclamation points.
Canada.
and nobody knows.
No, I want to do comedy there. We've just driven by it. But to do comedy in Saint Louis du Haha would be amazing.
Only in Canada would they not know the history of one of their own towns.
Yeah, we don't ask questions. We don't,
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right, you're just like, okay.
Somebody put up a sign, and we were like, well, obviously this is what it's called. Saint Louis du Haha. I mean.
Yeah.
Ha-ha! You got to really nail the ha-ha. That's why the exclamation parts, people were really kind of whispering it in the beginning. And they're like, we need you to yell that at the end.
Are there any towns with a question mark attached to it?
Oh, I mean, I've been to some towns that I would put a question mark.
Yes, I'm sure.
But on the sign, not that I haven't seen one yet. If we've got... exclamation marks. I mean, question marks can't be that.
I know. I can't remember which city it is. There's one with 1 exclamation point, and then the one I mentioned has 2 exclamation points. But I'm going to keep an eye out for question marks.
Yeah, absolutely.
We might bring some white paint with us, and after we leave a messed up town, we might just. I mean, nobody's going to ask questions. That's the important thing.
Well, in Canada, don't do it here.
No, I would never do it.
They're looking for an excuse to kick ass. Here,
no, I would never do it here. Only in Canada. They don't ask any questions, and it'll just be there, and then no Wikipedia, no nothing. If anybody wants to know.
Some towns should, because they're confused. Like Marlborough, Massachusetts, they spell it Marlboro, B-O-R-O, and B-O-U-O-R-O-U-G-H or whatever.
Yeah.
And both of them are on signs everywhere, and you're like, which one am I going to? It's confusing. So we should just put a question mark.
Oh, it's 2 different towns?
I think it's like, it's like a city, and then like maybe the greater area they spell differently or something. It's very confusing.
We have things like that here.
Oh, okay.
We have a town called Massapequa.
Yeah.
Then there's Massapequa Park. There's Garden City. There's Garden City Park, and usually, and people are very. Don't forget the park.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're very. They have
I'm
a lot of
from
pride in their park.
Wichita, and then there's Wichita Falls, Texas.
Oh.
But we don't care about them.
Yeah.
Wichita. Oh,
yeah, it falls right out of your brain.
I did
no one cares.
No, that's not true. I'm thinking Glenn Campbell immediately. Did you get that or no?
No.
Oh, the Wichita Lineman. You don't know that song? How old? You're what? 35.
35. Yeah.
And how old are you?
38.
And really, you guys don't
I know
that
Glenn
song?
Campbell, but I don't know the song.
I got a bit of a question mark on
Sure.
that.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you did there.
Thank you.
Have you guys? So this is your first time on Long Island.
Yeah.
Yes. First time playing, as you know, the historic Governor's Comedy Club.
Yeah, a real honor.
Oh yeah. And it should be.
Yeah,
it should be. It's a special place. Eddie Murphy started here.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, lots of great
names.
Of great people. Thoughts so far? How long have you been here? Just got here today?
We got in, yesterday.
Yeah.
we drove in yesterday and
Okay.
had the night in not Levittown, but what is it?
Westbury, I think?
Westbury.
Westbury.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, just the night, and we went
the Holiday Inn.
No, it's a Courtyard by Marriott.
Oh yeah.
Courtyard.
Mm-hmm.
We got in, and of course, went to a Benihana,
Oh, okay.
as you do,
Yeah.
right?
Monday
night?
Went in
Monday
Long
night?
Island.
Sure, why not?
Dinner. Yeah.
Go to Benihana.
John, shout out John. He was there.
He was our
our
chef.
cook. He was our chef.
He did a great job.
Oh.
He did.
He threw stuff around. It was awesome.
He threw lobster or shrimp tails in his
into his
hat.
hat.
Caught him in his hat.
Caught him in his hat.
Oh, yeah.
And you still ate it? I mean,
No,
like,
no,
Joe,
no,
what
just
the fuck
the
is it?
tails.
What?
No,
was
just the tails.
Oh.
Yeah.
Formed-
It's still weird. I
He
don't
forgot his
Formed,
garbage. Normally they bring a little garbage out, and he forgot his, so he had to throw his up and catch it in the hat.
Quick thinking, just
Yeah.
like you. Yeah. Thoughts so far with Long Island? Anything stand out to you so far?
For me, my initial, I've heard of Long Island, and of course I know great comics that have come from here, but I never really paid attention to how enormous it is and how many people actually live here. Like I looked at the population in like 2023, it was like 8 million people on Long Island or something. I did not expect it to be that big.
Oh, okay.
That really blew me away.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't know that either
Yeah.
till this moment. You're actually seeing me.
It's an
learn-
educational show, you see.
right now.
Yeah.
Overall, it's been a great experience. We haven't, obviously done much. We've only been here for a day,
Right.
But I was really excited for the opportunity to work this club. It's one that I've known about literally since I started. I started at 14, but
Yeah.
when you like learn about comedy and you hear different comics talk, and then you see like old clips of them on stage and stuff. So it was a really big deal for me to finally, work this club. So I was really honored to do that.
And who are some of the comedians that you were watching, like your all-time favorites?
Man, so the way I got introduced to comedy was we have Just for Laughs in Canada, the festival.
Right.
But they filmed it every year, and we had, I don't know if it played in America or not, but we had every day it was on Comedy Network, our version of Comedy Central.
Yeah, right.
It was on CBC, it was on CTV. So they had like old stuff from the 80s when it first started,
Oh, wow.
all the way to like present, 90s and whatever.
wow.
Depending on which station you watched it on, you would see like, I saw Ray Romano, Kevin James, Andrew Dice Clay, Andrew Ferrara, or Adam Ferrara.
was just here this past weekend. Yeah.
So like all those guys in the 80s doing their first set, like I watched that in, as I was growing up. So that was like my introduction to comedy, was seeing every type of comedian you can imagine.
Sure.
And then in the 90s, as Ray Romano gets his show and Jerry Seinfeld gets his show, and then King of Queens comes along, I'm like, oh my God, I like grew up with these guys because I've seen them on, I just know them as comics. So that was really cool. And that was kind of my favorite thing, was watching like 7-minute sets of 4 different comedians a day, from, Carrot Top to Jeff Dunham,
Nice.
So
Yeah.
it was like almost like a comedy university in a way, to just see all these different things. So that was like my favorite thing to watch.
And where did and first off, the crowd work, I mean, it was just fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
It was great. I do a little bit of that myself. So I was very intrigued by it and found it very interesting, thought it was great. And how did that, was that a conscious thing to get into it, or what? Did you stumble upon it? Did you have written material that you thought just blew chunks? So you're like, let me take this route.
Kind of a version of all of that, to be honest with you. When I first started, so I was 14 when I first started doing stand up, but my mom didn't want me to go to like a club. So my first few shows were shows we set up. Like my mom invited our friends and our family, and we did it in the auditorium at like her work. And so it was just,
she's an accountant. It's just weird how she had an auditorium there.
Yeah, she worked with blind people. And so they didn't know when you used the auditorium at all, because they didn't we had to sneak in. Yeah, it was like It was really easy to get it. We just had to be really quiet. We gave everybody headphones so that I didn't, and the mic went just to the headphones. It was quite interesting, but no. So we she let me do that a couple times, and then when I was 16, she was like, "Okay, if you want to try like an open mic or whatever," but it was all just material. But I had no connection with the audience at all. We had nothing in common. I'm 15, 16 years old, and they're 35, and I'm like, "What about homework?" And they're like, "Dude, I got divorced today. Like, I don't give a shit about your homework." So there was no relation to them, but I reminded them of like their kid or their grandson or something. So they gave me a lot of leeway. They're like, "Oh, look at this guy just, living his dreams." So it wasn't like nasty heckling or "you suck" or "get off" or whatever.
Right.
It's just like, well, he'll either figure it out or he's obviously still in high school and can do something else. And so the crowd work thing came from once I graduated high school, started like touring and stuff. I would do these one-nighter gigs at like bars, and I was young, but now I'm an adult, so they're not giving me the same leeway. They're just like, "You're a young 20-something idiot." And so I would try stuff, and then eventually all my setups became questions. Basically, it was like, "Hey, you ever do this?"
Right.
And then sometimes they would respond with something, and I'd respond back. And then what I noticed is, little by little, stuff with the audience that was like off the cuff would get these bigger reactions, and then I couldn't keep it at that level when I went back to material. They're like, "I don't want to listen anymore to this shit." And so little by little, it was like, it was like 5% of the act, then it was like 20%, then it was like 30, then it was like 50-50. And I had a friend come to a few shows who's not a comic. He's just a regular, he's a civilian. And he was like,
he's a normal person.
Yeah. I wouldn't go, you don't know him, but no, but he's, a regular guy. Right. And so he goes, "The stuff you did with like the crowd, that's hitting way more than all that other stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know that. I mean, I lose sleep over that. I get it." And he's like, "You should just do the crowd stuff the whole time." And I was like, "Dude, there is no, like, 45 minutes, an hour of that. Like, how would I do that? How would I keep?" I was like, "There's no way to do that." So it got to a point, I think around maybe 2009, where I'd been on the road. I'd been doing the same act over and over again. I just got bored and was like, "I think I'm going to quit. I think I'm done with this." I was like I was an opening act. I was middling at some small clubs, but mostly one-nighters. It was, didn't feel like it was going anywhere, and it wasn't fun. I'm just doing what I know will work and then peppering in a little bit of crowd work, whatever. And so I'm like, I think this is over. Like, I'll just do something else. I started looking at other jobs and things like that. I sort of worked out there was like a company that was trying to start like a booking agency sort of thing, and I was like, well, I've done some booking, so maybe we can work something out where I work for you full time, and all that. And so I had like these last 3 shows that were booked, and then they were in like June of that year, and then summer, and whatever. And I was like, I'm done after that. And so my buddy, he goes, if you're doing those shows and you're quitting anyway, just go up there and like try it out.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, what?
You got nothing to lose.
Fuck it. Yeah. And they were they weren't for anything. They were small bar gigs. And so the first one I did was in this town called Cannington, Ontario, and it was like this little tiny bar, and I just went up there and just like, I was like, all right, we'll just see where it goes. Well, I ended up doing almost 90 minutes.
Wow.
And it had the problem was it had no ending. There was nothing, and I wanted to end on a laugh. So like, probably the last 30 minutes was fucking terrible because I'm trying everything
right.
to land on a laugh, and I'm like determined not to do a joke. I was like, no, I've committed to this. And so finally something happened in the middle table. It was like a guy celebrating his birthday, and I got something and it got a pop, and I was like immediately like, all right, thank you, good night. And just
right.
but it was like freeing. It was like exhilarating, and just felt, I felt that passion again, and like it just was wild. So the next night I did it again, and then I was like, man, I love that, tightrope walk of doing this, and just like, it's all based on curiosity too. I'm not trying to do anything that offends people, or I'm not going after people. It's really like I see something or something happens and I'm curious about it, and then the whatever I'm given is like, can I create something out of whatever you just gave me?
Right.
And so what happened over time was I was doing it, but there was no ending and it had no structure. So I was like, hey, if I'm going to do more of this, I booked a bunch of like fall shows or whatever. And I was like, if I'm going to try this again, it needs a little bit of like a little structure and it needs some sort of ending. But I had no way of, I didn't know how to end it. So for a while I was doing a bit at the end, or I started doing like DVD sales of like an old special. So I sort of tied a joke into that and tried to end on that. And one night, I'm like, probably 25-30 minutes into my act, and these two people come in like really late, and I'm on last, and I go, oh, you missed the whole show, but you paid the same amount of money, so let me take you through it. So I went through like the MC, the opening act, a little bit of my stuff, a couple things from the audience, and it gets this applause. And for that show, I never could recover after that because it was like the middle.
Yeah.
But at the end, I went to the hotel and I was like, if there's a way to get that ending where I go through the show, but it's at the end of my set instead of in the middle, but I was like, I don't know how to do it. Do I ask two people to pretend to come in late? Do I say to the opener, like, go out, put a hat on, put some glasses on, and then come in the back door, pretend you're not the opener? Like, right. I was going through all these scenarios in my head of like, how do I do this at the end without getting lucky that two people come in late? And then it was from there, it was like different versions of figuring that out.
That's what I found very interesting. You've taken crowd work and you've structured it. So, so doing that review at the end, doing callbacks throughout the whole thing is always callbacks. Is like, people just can't get enough callbacks.
Yeah.
No matter what kind of comedy you're doing, that always works.
Yeah, they do love a good callback.
Yeah,
they do. Yeah.
Do you? And I do a daytime show in here, and it's on we do every weekday. So like, I'm always dying for stuff to talk about. So
News 12? Is it on News 12?
That's real, by the way. It's News 12.
I know.
It's called News 12 because it's Channel 12.
Of course.
And they don't. They do it live for a half hour and they talk about what's going on, and then they just keep replaying that episode.
It's amazing.
For hours.
It's amazing.
For hours.
I love it.
Then they come back at lunchtime. They do it again. Then they replay that for hours, and then they come back at 5. They replay that. Yeah, it's the craziest thing. And it's been that way for years, and we just accept it. I don't really understand it, but we're like, oh, okay.
Not only do you accept it, again. You will stand up for it as a group. You are proud of it. You will not let anybody come in here and think that it's at 12. Absolutely not. I mean, there was some passion behind that.
Yeah, there was passion behind our repeating news.
Absolutely.
So you've structured it, and so anyway, so I always talk about the shows that I'm doing, comedy shows and stuff, and we've discussed. We get comedians here all the time. We talk shop basically.
Of course.
So when we're talking about crowd work, I know when I'm doing crowd work, I've been doing it for a long time, like yourself, and I'll say something, like I'll ad-lib something or I'll react to something, and then in my head it clicks. I'm like, oh, that got a good laugh. Like, I store it almost, you know, and then the next time I say, but I make it seem like I just came up with it because that's what they're laughing at, how quick, and which is the case with you. Do you do that? Do you store things like, and then when you're out performing, I can say this now, like this line that I've used, or I'm sure you must get similar scenarios. Yeah. Sometimes, so what is that, or am I giving away stuff? Is that tricks of the trade that you don't want to talk about?
No, not at all. I'll tell you exactly what, because because I've done this for so long this way, I've seen, I'm an accountant, I'm a whatever, so many times.
Yeah.
For me, I try as hard as I can to come up with something different as if they have heard it.
Right.
So
it's
like a challenge to me. Now, sometimes I go through and I'm like, well, there's nothing, but I do have this from, 2 weeks ago or whatever.
Right.
And I know it worked. I'll try it here. There's something to me about the second time I say something that I feel like I feel like they feel that it wasn't genuine.
Oh,
I just feel that.
Wow.
And it's not to say that that's every time, and certainly I have, done that, but I try to mix it up if I can, as if they've seen it, because I know I've done it, and I almost feel like I don't view it this way. So I just mean, for me, I feel like I'm cheating them out of an original thing.
Right.
Even though they wouldn't know the difference or care. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I've tried to do. But I mean, I've seen so many scenarios now. It's like, it's almost like, oh, it's going to be this version tied with this version. Like, I've done it so many times. It's almost tough in certain scenarios. Like, you always get these crazy moments that happen that are once in a lifetime, or once,
Yeah.
But the average ones, the ones that are just kind of there, it gets tough after a while to like cycle.
So a crowd like this, because there was some weird shit coming out. Mm-hmm. So like that must be what you want, because you can really play with crazy shit like that.
That's what I mean about a Tuesday night. Like, they weren't rowdy,
right,
but they were energetic enough to go along with that applause breaks and just that high energy. Whereas sometimes on a Tuesday, they're like, what time are we getting out of here?
Right.
I've
It's
had my meal.
Right.
Yeah, I got to get home. I didn't feel any of that. And, and that was, we've had shows on, nice early packed shows on Saturday where you feel that for some reason, where it's like, I don't know what this is, but it's very rare that you get that. So this type of thing tonight was like, I love it because it's new for me. We're all experiencing it together. That's the beauty of it for me, is when we legit as a group, all of us are literally experiencing this one thing together, and they can feel my excitement for what, because it really is. I'm curious. I don't not give a shit. I want to know. I want to know more than I ask. There's, in my mind, I have to go, stop asking questions now.
Right.
The humor's done. Now you're just bothering people at their table.
Right.
But I want to sit there, and I want to do it if we go to a restaurant, I'll see two people and I'll be like, man, I would love to go over and go, how did this happen? How did you meet her? How did you meet him? Where are you married? But you can't do it because they'll escort you out of the restaurant.
Right.
And so I'm just lucky enough to have a job where they pay me to do that to people up to a point, and then I got to cut it off and try to move on. And each time, whenever I'm starting a new set or a new starting with new people, I also try to make it like, if I was over here talking to people, you got to come over here now, because you don't want to cut that side of the room off where you're over here too long. I try to stay in the middle, but then move to the side as I'm talking to them, but then kind of come back to the middle to deliver the joke or whatever it is. Right. So I'm really aware of like trying not to go overboard with it.
You have to be, right. Yeah. Especially because crowd work, like that, man, it could tank. So there is a science, and there is things to be aware of, like that woman who stood up for the National Guard guy.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you saw it, but I'm thinking that you did. Once you acknowledged her, once you said something about her standing, she stood up every freaking chance she had.
Yeah.
Right? And she and at one point she even she turned and started going like this to everybody else, trying to get them up.
That's amazing.
Like, she was totally cashing in. For like what could be her 15 minutes of fame, in this case, 30 seconds in Levittown. But you obviously know, okay, I've had, we've done this woman. We've had enough. I need to move on now, because that's going to get old really quick.
It's going to get, and it's going to get out of hand, because she wants her time, and you got to give her that, or she's going to be a problem.
Right.
But you can't go overboard, because she's obviously had drinks and stuff. The dude she was sitting with was laughing, but also you could see on his face, like, I don't want this to go much further.
Well, there was one time she stood up, Zach, I don't know if you saw it. She did stand up, and then she stumbled back, and the guy behind her had caught her.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
That's not surprising.
God's honest truth. Yeah.
That is not surprising. She definitely had a fun night. That's for sure.
Yeah. She could get in the way, though. And so you're very good with, I'm done. without saying, "I'm done, bitch. Sit the fuck down." You know exactly how to move on.
Yeah, and there's a body language as well where if you turn, doesn't work all the time because some people are there just they're gonna yell, but if you turn and they realize it's not about them anymore, and they have somebody with them that's like, okay, shut up now,
right,
and they take care of that. That happens more often than me having to be like, you need to sit down and shut the fuck up now because your time is done. Because the other thing is, if you do that, you can lose the rest of the people if they're like,
that's what I'm saying.
She's
it gets
just
old.
having fun. Why? You know what I mean? They don't realize that I'm trying to shut down a devastating, devastating the rest of the show, and I need, they don't understand that. They're just like, let the woman stand up, and now you've lost them. Now you're starting at zero. So if you can turn, usually, if it's not the person with them, it'll be the people around them like, shh. Yes. And then they usually, for the most part, will calm down.
Levi, let me ask you, how does it work? How is it as a comedian?
Mm-hmm.
All right, a couple of questions. So what's your take on his style? Because I don't know if you guys, I'm assuming you've seen this, where sometimes comedians who, have their actual sets of original material, they'll frown a little bit upon this type of comedy because
he is constantly frowning. I'm glad you brought that up because if I ever see him out in the, usually he's backstage, but occasionally he'll pop out, and just a frown.
He popped up today.
Yeah,
he was out
frowning,
yes.
and that's why this question came up. Yeah. So I'd love to know what the frowning is.
Yeah, it's when you see Hack, you recognize Hack, is what I'm saying. No, I actually have talked to people about this numerous times because I would say kind of in general, I'm not the biggest fan of crowd work. Depending on how it's done, there are multiple, it all gets lumped together, but there are people who don't know what they're doing and they're just asking questions and hoping somebody says something that they can say something funny to. And we've been in a show where normally he'll ask the host not to do a bunch of crowd work because obviously he's going to do it, but he didn't get a chance to. This is actually in New York, and it was kind of a small crowd. They were kind of tough. And the host just asked literally every single person in the room what they did for work and made maybe 2 jokes and just went through the crowd of 45 people or whatever. And that was her whole set. And it was brutal. And so I don't enjoy that. And I also don't enjoy crowd work that is all just reactionary. They'll ask something and then overreact to what they say and then just talk to somebody else about, did you just see what they said? It just kind of gets repetitive. And I don't like it when they're terribly mean to the audience. They came to have fun and to enjoy a show. They didn't necessarily come to get picked on. Now, if that is your whole shtick and people are fans of yours and that's why they're there, I get that. But that's not always. So what I've always liked about Jeff's crowd work is that it's like he said, it comes from a place of curiosity. He builds sort of his own story around what they say and not directly picking on their actual life. He's picking on how he misinterprets their life, which is always funny. And what I love about regular stand-up is the structure, and providing a structure to crowd work makes it feel like, oh, that was a show. It wasn't just a guy asking people questions the whole time. It's I don't know if have you seen Middleditch and Schwartz on Netflix? Thomas Middleditch and Ben Schwartz. They do they have 3 1-hour improv specials where it's just the 2 of them and they ask questions at the beginning of the audience and they form a whole improv. And you're like, okay, improv can be a little bit quirky if it's not done well, but they form literally a 45-minute to an hour story that sort of wraps around on itself, and it's all off the cuff. And Jeff's style is the crowd work version of that, where you're like, okay, we actually feel like we went somewhere and landed somewhere with this whole thing. And so, I'm a big fan of that. And obviously people really respond to that. If they've only seen clips of him online, that's just short little bits, they don't really understand what a show is like. And people are often blown away. In the merch line, they'll be like, I didn't know it was going to be a whole show, you know?
Well, that's the weird thing that you just touched upon, because that's all comedians are doing lately. It's all just clips, these 30-second TikTok or Instagram clips of crowd work. It's great, but you don't get a sense of who that person is or what they really do.
And some of them, like, they film every single show, and they put up a clip of 30 seconds from one show, and so you see 10 clips of theirs, and you're like, oh, they're really good at this. And then you see them live, and you're like, oh, they're not good at this. They got just 30 seconds out of 25 minutes of trying this. That really was worth it.
Good point.
And I think, that's another thing people are blown away is that Jeff really maintains a good whole quality through the whole thing. Yeah.
I mean, I understand the point that comedians are making. You know, people want to see original material. They want to see, but to me, the bottom line is I don't care if you told the hackiest dad jokes. If they're laughing out there, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
I do think too, because like you just said, you're not picking on them. You're not. I'm a huge Don Rickles fan, but that's not what you're doing. Don Rickles could. I mean, some of the shit he came out with, like holy shit. Which he wouldn't get away with today. But what you're doing it in a way that you're not, like you said, you're not bullying them. You're not mean to them. You're like a bridge,
inviting them.
You're one of them.
Yeah,
you know, and so they enjoy that. They understand that this is all just fun and games. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate that. That's very nice.
And I hope when you asked them if they wanted you guys to come back, was that a good response? It seemed like it.
They seem very excited.
Every comedian that comes through this place, I mean, that's not from here. They say it. All of them say it. They can't get over how good the crowds are here.
That was
this place is electric.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And like again, on a Tuesday is wild that it was that good. For a Tuesday night because.
All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty of this. Who decided to do this on a Tuesday? Was that you guys saying, "Hey, we're going to be in the area on that day," or did the governor say, "We'll give you a chance, but it's got to be a Tuesday"? Like, how did this happen?
I don't know exactly whose decision, like who made the final decision. So I have an agency that does like routing. So we don't do comedy clubs on weekends yet. I don't sell enough tickets for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not in every market. Like I have done it, but most of the comedy clubs I'm working that are the top tier, they'll give me an off night, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, sometimes a Thursday, a Sunday. So I think this just fit in with like, I obviously, have always wanted to work here. It works out that we'll give you an off night. And we had, West Nyack Wednesday, Poughkeepsie Thursday. We were in Woodstock, New York Sunday.
Oh, nice.
And so routing wise, I think it just lined up routing wise where the club had the day open and they were, filling dates and that's how it happened. But yeah.
But don't you have like your YouTube specials and whatnot? Aren't you like you're popping?
I wouldn't say popping.
Pretty damn close, no?
Yeah. So here's what happened. I had a couple years ago. I had some videos that did really well, and it formed this really nice fan base. And in the last, year. Definitely the last year, maybe year and a half, the explosion of views and all that kind of stuff kind of went down in the like where there, it's not millions and millions. Now we still consistently put stuff out.
Of course.
Some, 20,000 views, some 500,000 views or whatever, but there's nothing that's been that big sort of, explosion. So we have this base of fans that we brought like I say we because it's not just myself. Levi has been working with me now for a year. He's like, in addition to the stand-up, he designed all of that merch table, every piece of merchandise,
nice.
Does a bunch of website stuff, is learning all kinds of like marketing. Like I might have quit this year. Honest to God, I mean this sincerely. In this past year, I might have quit if I didn't start working with him just because we experienced some pretty crazy shit with losing numbers, like ticket sales went down, and it was just like it was this moment where you feel like you're climbing and then you're on a and
we talk about it so much in here. It's such a weird thing because it's no longer honing your craft and selling your product. It's you now have to be basically like a car salesman too.
Yeah.
This is what I do. So it's like half the time is my act. Now I have to worry about the marketing and the social media, when to post, where to post, who am I, the targeting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm old, man. I can't. I still want to hang posters on a laundromat window. I mean, I'm lost, man.
I
Totally
know.
lost.
It's a lot, and like I've been lucky in the sense that my bread and butter for years was go to a town in Canada or the US, but I was doing mostly Canada, that nobody's ever heard of. They have a Legion, a hall, or a small theater. I rent that out. I do the promo and the marketing, whether it was, like you said, posters. Originally, it was I drive to the town, I put up the posters, I go to businesses, I hand stuff out. If there's a local radio station, I buy time on the radio. I say, hey, there's a comedian, or I'm a comedian, I'm coming through. Do you want a quick interview? If I buy, ad sales, newspapers, and then once it got into Facebook, like trying to figure that out, and then that got a little easier where I didn't have to travel to the town, so I could broaden the range a little bit. But that was my thing for years. So I was working as a comic, making a living, making a fairly decent living, but it wasn't in major cities and towns. So that's why just now, 24 years in, I'm slowly working into these bigger and better clubs and better markets, and starting to get the industry, because we took all the shitty little towns and filmed every show, and then we started putting out all of that stuff. That stuff really hit. That opened a few more doors, and then somewhere along the way, the views started to go down. We've solved a few issues, and we've got some great. There's 2 other guys that work with us that do like the editing and all the video work and stuff. Levi also does a little bit of that as well. Actually, our 2 most successful videos from this past year were from him editing and stuff as well. So,
is there anything you don't do?
No.
Are you a spy as well? Like, what else?
I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah,
but can neither confirm nor deny.
I've never seen and it's actually upsetting. It's actually upsetting how talented he is at everything. It's upsetting. I have zero talent, like zero.
I just talk to people.
I just talk. I learned how to talk, and then that's where it ended for me. It's like he's good at everything, which is amazing. And I'm actually being dead serious, not about being angry at it. I've actually used it to my advantage quite thoroughly this year, which I appreciate. But no, he's like,
I think he just admitted taking advantage of you.
No, I have taken full advantage for my own career. I did not take advantage of him. I want that to be clear, just in case there's ever a court case or something.
That's right. This is all being recorded.
Yeah. Shit, I forgot. These aren't on, are they? But yeah, so it's he's very good at a lot of things, and just one of those people that naturally learns well and picks stuff up, and has been really a great addition to this team.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What? You guys have been. Wow, I didn't realize how long we were going. I won't keep you. What? When are you like? You have any? Are you sticking around at all? Like, any plans on checking anything out, or are you guys out of here tomorrow to go to the next place?
Yeah, we leave tomorrow to go to West Nyack.
Okay.
And then Poughkeepsie Thursday. We're usually not. So basically, what happens is after a show, we'll go get some food. When we get back to the hotel, that's when I look at like editing and stuff. I'm usually up pretty late, like doing that stuff. I have 2 guys that are editing back home right now, so we're working on different. Because the thing with content is like you've got longer form content for like YouTube, then you've got Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, TikToks,
right.
And so trying to kind of make content for each one, and I mean a lot of it is the same thing, but it might have to be cut down from 5 minutes to 1 minute or 30 seconds or whatever you want to do, and subtitling and all that kind of stuff. So I'll usually do that, and then I'm also right now, this is kind of the end of our a 6-week run that we've been on. We drive all over as well, so I'm usually doing like the hotel stuff and booking, looking at like what's our routing coming up, where can we stay, do we have an off night, do we do 2 days somewhere, that kind of stuff. So we're not usually like, we're definitely not a party crew. We're not go out after, we're not getting drunk or anything like that, and we don't really do a lot of like touristy stuff. We've seen a couple things like where that one where you're in the center of the, what is it? You're in like the center of the universe, or
Oh yeah.
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, in Tulsa.
Yeah. So
yeah.
like little things like that, but it's so busy, and like I have probably insomnia or whatever. To like I have a hard time sleeping. I have a hard time like shutting my brain down at night.
Oh, especially if there's something,
Yeah, and it's
cool
just
as
like
that.
there's so much going through it of like, future stuff coming up, videos that we have. If ticket sales are down, like, trying to figure out how are we, there's lots to it. So I don't sleep really that well at night. So I'm usually, if we can get a later checkout or whatever and get a little bit of more sleep, or luckily Levi, also no surprise, is the driver as well. And so that has allowed
while
me
editing.
Yeah. Have you seen us? Have you seen it? It's amazing to watch. I got to take the computer when we see the cops, but otherwise I just do this. You wouldn't believe how many things I've deleted off of this computer. It's unbelievable. But which has actually again been a huge help, because last year, or not last year, but the year before, like before Levi started touring, I was doing all the driving in addition to all the booking before I got the agent. So I was like booking till 3-4 in the morning, or like sending emails, whatever, going to sleep, waking up, traveling, but I'm doing all the driving. And there was a few times where I was like on the highway and just could feel myself kind of do that. And I was like, Jesus, I'm going to die out here if I don't, if we can't figure this out. So again, got very, very lucky to bring somebody on. So, I'll grab a nap or something in the car if I can, but we're not, it's so busy. And then we get to the next place and we're, usually, checking in, getting a little bit of lunch. We're both the same in that we don't like to eat too close to the show and get where you feel like weighed down and stuff. So we'll try to eat early, and then get to the club, do the merch stuff, and get set up. I always like to be nice and early to the club too, just so they're not like, where the fuck are these guys? And we usually film with a guy, so we'll get there like 2.5 hours early just so he can get set up, mic check, Levi can get all the merch stuff set up and stuff like that. So we don't have a lot of time for the
So you guys hardly even know each other then, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Too busy taking care of business.
It's funny, I've been calling him Larry. It wasn't until you mentioned Levi that I was like, I may have made a mistake here.
Larry Babe, you were calling him.
Larry Babe, I feel bad. I've put him on at venues. They've put him on a number of marquees featuring Larry Babe.
But you guys are in the right place, because if you haven't eaten yet, now I feel even worse that I've kept you. But everything's open 24 hours around here, man. You guys won't have a problem getting some good eats. Oh yeah, McDonald's is 24 hours. Taco Bell is 24. What? What's with the face? They are the one down.
Who the hell is that? Has he been here the whole time?
I'll tell you, nothing took a dive during COVID like 24-hour places, though. That really brought a lot to an end.
You wouldn't believe how many places we've been where, like, if you're not out of the venue by 10:30, even 10 in some areas, it's like you got to go a few towns over to get something. So that's very exciting.
I'll never forget. I did a show. It's got to be at least 10 years ago, maybe more, in New Hampshire. Show ended probably around 10, maybe a little after, and I just wasn't thinking, because I'm so used to life here. So we finished the show. We went back to our hotel and cleaned up, washed up a little bit, because there were a bunch of us, and we're like, okay, now we're going to go get a bite to eat. I mean, they have 7-Elevens up there, but they were all down here. Every 7-Eleven is 24 hours. Up there, I mean, it was probably around 11:30. We're driving, like, even the 7-Elevens were closed. Like, what the fuck?
7-Eleven closing.
Yeah.
We find a bar. We go in. I opened the door to the bar. Inside there was a wall, and the sign said that the place is closing at 12. It was 11:45. I'm like, oh fuck. So I walk in. I go to the bartender. I go, is there any way we get some food? And he goes, nah, we're closing in 15 minutes. I swear to God, this is true. Sitting at the bar were two people that were at the show, who know, and they're locals, they're regulars, so they turned to, like, look, they just did a show, they were great. we'll even pitch in for to pay if you guys cooked them some burgers. We're like, holy shit! And yeah, they did. They made us some good burgers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, here, Taco Bell, most McDonald's, a diner. Diners are open. There's a good diner right down the road. Yeah, so you guys are.
What's it called? I love it.
Yeah, we like a good diner.
Is that the Apollo Diner? Is that the one you're talking about?
No, the Apollo is. Which way? Where are we?
Is that way?
The one on Hempstead Turnpike by Newbridge Road. There.
Yeah,
is that the Apollo? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I'm pretty
of,
sure that's Apollo.
Yeah,
I love a diner.
Yeah,
I love an all-night diner.
We have to get really used to because, like, in normal life, if a place closes at 11, you're like, I don't want to go in past 10, maybe, because people the servers get a little frustrated or whatever. But you got to get used to just that's going to happen because that's all that's open. And you get out of a show at 10:30, and you're like, we can make it by 10:45, but they close at 11. Will they seat us? Wow. And you get a real mixed, real mixed bag. I usually try to call if I know that's the case and get a vibe if we're going to piss anybody off. But sometimes they're real cool. I think the best places, this is just my personal rant about restaurants, if you put a closing time, that closing time means that's when we shut the door and stop seating people. It doesn't mean that you can't get food up until that point.
Right.
If you want it to be a different time, just move the time back a little bit or whatever. But
I'm sure this line of thinking really helps from getting like a loogie burger.
Yeah, I'm sure we've eaten plenty of spit in our.
That would be my.
You got to do what you got to do. But that's the big chains. The big chains are a little better about that. You go to like an Olive Garden, that's their policy. If you go to a local place, they're a little more like, oh, we were kind of about to go home. So
yeah, but you just hit it, like now the wheels are spinning. Like you guys could. So he's 10 minutes away from finishing up on stage. I mean, not that you don't have enough to do, but you could call Uber Eats and then get stuff delivered.
We could, but we like the wind down because we're not like drinkers and stuff. So we like going and sitting down in a restaurant and like talk about the show and just kind of have that like chill out, and then we don't have to like deal with all the trash, and somebody will come take care of all that for us. So.
Now you got me thinking too, because you said you're not a drinker now, and you also don't like sports. So, what do you like?
Yeah,
it sounds like there's more you don't like.
Yeah, no, I have.
I'm teasing.
I don't like sport. I was a big movie nerd growing up.
Okay.
Like, so I love movies. I love TV. I like every year. I would watch all the Oscar movies once they were nominated and try to like fit in 50 movies before the Oscars air. And since I've been touring, I haven't been able to do all that because we're on the road a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like those are the kind of things. I was a nerd. I was like a mama's boy growing up. Like I like to cook and do things like that. So yeah, it was just like the going to sports games and
you're worried about getting
a
restaurant. He likes to cook. In between all the editing, the driving, you get fire up the grill and make some steaks.
I got a foreman in the car, and every now and then I'll just whip out some chicken or something and be like, "Can we just whip this
So
up?"
he's driving, editing, and cooking at the same time while you're sleeping. I hope you're happy.
I'm up late. Okay.
Last question. I'll let you go. What'd you guys think of Jay?
Oh, Jay was great.
No, I'm just kidding. No,
just so you know, the Apollo Diner closed at 11. So
come on.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm telling you, there's barely anything open.
Well, now I
that's
feel
not true.
lied to.
Yeah. We're trying to make it to an Applebee's by midnight, so.
What time is it?
It's
almost
11:23.
23 after 23.
Honest to God, that just happened yesterday. I have no idea why it switched to military time. I have absolutely no idea what happened.
That's funny.
It's very weird. I have no idea.
Oh, also,
At least it's
just so I don't sound like an asshole,
Too late.
love Jay. He was great.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
Great working with him. Obviously, we see the full range of MC hosts, local comics, all that stuff. One of my favorite things to do is work with local comics, especially in a really small areas. If somebody does comedy, it's always really cool to like give them a shot or give them stage time. I really love that. So it's always nice to meet people that are like doing comedy and doing well. And he was great.
Jay's
and a really
great.
good host.
Yes.
Like it's the hardest job because you're the first out. You have no idea what their energy is. You
set
don't
the
know what they're
tone,
like.
right.
Yeah, and so it is really, really difficult to nail that. And I thought he did a great job.
Yeah.
Jay is great. He's been at it for several years, so we're happy that it's only been maybe the past year that he's become a governor's regular, so we're all very happy for him.
Yeah.
And then there's so just today actually, Jay was on the radio with Tiki. See, all right. So Tiki Barber was a player on a team called the New York Giants. That's a football team.
Yeah.
You see? So Tiki Barber he now has a radio show with Evan Roberts. So it's, I don't know, like, I know it's popular in New York. I don't know if they go further than that. I don't know. Are you a sports guy at all? Do you know these names?
I know the name Tiki Barber.
Yeah, he was a big player on the Giants.
Yeah. And I'm like, I like sports. I can watch it. I'm not when I was a kid, hockey was my life.
Oh, okay.
So
Canada.
Leafs fan. I played hockey.
Nice.
I knew I was big into like stats and like I wanted to know who the leaders were and all that kind of stuff. Like I loved the NHL.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I had a friend that really liked football, so I would watch NFL, CFL. We have the our version of the game, which is it's there, and so I can watch it. We actually watched the Super Bowl. Well, we all watched the last 5 minutes of the Super Bowl plus the overtime.
That's all you needed to see.
Yeah, and that's the perfect time to watch the Super Bowl or any football game, in my opinion. So I really I love that rush, and because I played hockey growing up, the like overtime feeling, and you start to get that like feeling in your stomach, the adrenaline and stuff. So
and
I like sports.
Not being a sports fan, but I am from Kansas, so Kansas City was obviously in the Super Bowl, and he's. We're friends, so when we were watching it, we're like, of course, we're rooting for Kansas City, but we kind of, we don't really care that much. But man, by the end of that 5 minutes, we were like, if they don't win, I'm gonna burn this place down. Yeah. Like you get really into it when, right at the end.
Exciting 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I was excited for the Mahomes family. His dad got arrested right before the game.
Again,
what's his mindset going to be? Mm-hmm. Oh boy, how's Taylor Swift going to take it?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
many questions were answered, and I'm glad we caught that last few minutes.
I'm a Mets fan, so I'm a loser. And Pat Mahomes' father used to pitch for the Mets, so that's why I was rooting for Kansas. That was the only way I can make a connection.
I was a big Leafs fan, so I feel your pain on the consistent losing year after year.
So anyway, the reason I brought all this up because Jay called in today to Tiki Barber's radio show. They got to talking, and they kept him on because it was going so well, and he managed to promote tonight's show with you guys. He promoted his own comedy, and then Tiki Barber started following him on Instagram and contacted him and asked him for dates because he said he's going to come see him perform.
Oh, that's so cool.
So that's very cool.
Yeah,
and,
that's amazing.
And, and again, so I'm sure you guys know, any exposure is good exposure in this business.
Absolutely.
So we're hoping, that's a really good thing for Jay.
Tiki,
so we're happy for him.
If you're watching right now, do they watch or listen?
Sure.
Where is this? Yeah, Tiki, please, I'm open as well. I'll even give you free tickets if I can. Not everywhere, but if they'll let me, I'll certainly do. I'll buy them myself, Tiki.
That's right. You're free on those Tuesday nights.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, come on.
All right. So you did it in the show. Tell us here what's the socials and the best place to find you and all that stuff.
Yeah, Levi Mabe Comedy.
That's right.
LeviMabeComedy.com at Levi Mabe Comedy.
It's just LeviMabe.com.
Shit.
But,
Shit.
Yeah.
Normally I joke about it. I'd say a big long thing that's not his real website, but that time I was actually
I should probably get
sincere.
that other domain just in case.
LeviMabe.com.
I think I maybe do on.
Yeah, mine is JeffLeesonComedy.com because JeffLeeson.com a guy bought, and I don't know what it is now, but he used to put pictures of his cats.
Yeah.
I don't think he was in any of them. I think it was just his cats. He was very proud. And he will. I don't know if it's still there or not. He won't return my emails on trying to get the domain. So JeffLeesonComedy.com at JeffLeesonComedy or on Instagram at JeffLeesonComedian.
Very nice. There was a guy today talking all about his chess game and talking about his titles. I was praying that you were going to, because you were asking about his titles. And what was it,
Grandmaster, International
and
Master.
you're asking about other titles. I was praying you were going to say, where's the title nerd fit into this? I almost yelled it out, but that's my line of thinking. All right, there you go. Go check these guys out. They're both fantastic. And, we do hope that we'll see you guys here again. This was the show was fun, and here was fun. Thank you. I appreciate your time, especially when you're trying to go eat.
Thank you
Thank
for
you very
having us.
much.
By the way.
Anytime.
Really appreciate it.
Anytime. If you want it, when you're coming back, ahead of time, maybe we'll Zoom or something so we can promote.
Oh,
And,
that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
I already started following on Instagram tonight,
Huzzah.
so
Thank you.
so we'll talk again. Cool. All right, there you go. Levi Mabe and Jeff Leeson. There we go. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for watching.